Hello, this is Buford with Scholarships for Soccer, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Brianna Nosal. She will be playing soccer in college next fall. And Brianna, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And now, where are you going to play in the fall?
SUNY Morrisville.
SUNY Morrisville. That's New York?
Yes.
Okay. And are you from New York originally, or?
Yeah, I'm in the Buffalo area.
Gotcha. It's probably still cold up there.
Yeah, it snowed yesterday, so.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about how you found your destination, and what's so special about it? What attracted you to play soccer there?
So I always knew I wanted to play soccer since I was a little kid. I've always had a burning passion for the sport, and that was my main goal when I got older, was to be able to play in college. And I started looking around my sophomore year. I went to a lot of ID camps. Like, I went to the overnight camp at Penn State, and I did some day camps at like Geneseo and Cortland. And I kind of just did it for exposure and to get the feel of like what it's like to play in front of coaches and to interact with them. And so that was kind of started my sophomore year. My junior year, I did more camps. I continued to talk with coaches. I was talking to the Geneseo coach for a while. And then I created a video for recruiting, and I kind of posted online and on like different recruiting websites just to get, my name and footage out there. And so then I started having like really severe leg pain. And that had been going on for like a year or two, but it wasn't getting like really bad. It just kind of was, here and there throbbing every time I played, whenever I practiced, stuff like that. But my junior year was when it got really bad, to the point where I was like leaving the field crying, my feet would go numb. And it was just super weird. So I started going to this, he's kind of like a sports trainer, and he sent me to a doctor, and I ended up having chronic exertional compartment syndrome, which is basically just like where the outlining, like the fascia tissue of your muscle, doesn't expand when you're running. So it constricts and you're not getting enough blood flow, which can cause severe pain. So before I went to the doctor, they just kept telling me, it was shin splints. Just keep stretching, keep exercising, go away. And it never did. So for a while, my junior year, I didn't think I was going to be able to play because, I wasn't healing. So when they finally told me what I had, it was kind of like, that light at the end of the tunnel, because I knew that there could be a cure. And so that year I actually had surgery to get it fixed. And thankfully the surgery worked. And so then I kind of bounced back, and ever since then, I haven't had any pain. So then I went back to doing more camps and stuff. And so for a while, it was kind of hard because, coaches sometimes don't always come up to you. You have to always go up to them. Yeah. So, for a while I was kind of getting discouraged because I wasn't really hearing from people. And it was because I wasn't really putting myself out there a lot, that kind of stuff. And so it was funny because I was set on Edinburgh, because I went to a open house there, and I loved the campus and everything. And I did an overnight that summer last year. And when I was there, I unfortunately heard some news about the coach, and it didn't end up working out. So then at that point I was really at loss, because that was a college that I was excited and planning on going to. And so at that point I was just kind of really discouraged and upset, because I was like, well, what am I going to do now? Because I don't have any really backup plans or anything. And so that summer we did a college showcase for my club team, and this SUNY Morrisville was there. And the head coach at the college talked to my coach and was saying, I love your players. And they mentioned, some of the people and stuff. And my coach reached out to me and said hey, this college is interested in you. I can give you their number and contact information. You can get in touch with them. So I started talking to the college, and the coach was super nice. They had a different coach at the time. Her name was Amanda Gagliano. And so I spent a lot of the first few weeks talking to her specifically. And when we were out in Rochester at a tournament, she came out and watched one of my games. And she just kind of told me how she really liked my style of play, and how she really thought that I could improve the team and, be an extra good addition for the team that next year. And so I was excited because I had someone reaching out for me, but of course I wanted to see the campus first. So I made, arrangements to go see it. And then I found out that she was not going to be there next year. She had a job opportunity in Hawaii. So then she ended up connecting me with the new coach that was taking over. And so I went to the campus and I met him, and I just absolutely fell in love with the environment and all the people there. I walked on, I had it kind of had a homey feeling to it.
Yeah.
And then all the players there were super nice and super welcoming, and they just like made me feel like I was going to be a part of a really good family. So that's when I fell in love with the campus, and that's kind of when I made my decision to go there a few days later.
Okay. Wow. So you had quite a few challenges to overcome.
Yeah.
Talk about your junior year when you found out you were having surgery in the rehab process. Did you ever get discouraged during that time?
When I found out that there was like a way to possibly fix what I had going on, I was more excited than discouraged, because for the longest time I had always thought that it was just shin splints. So for the longest time I felt like, this is never going to go away. And because it was getting so bad, I was like, I know I'm not going to be able to play in college. So when I found out that like I had to have surgery, I was actually more excited than anything, because I felt like that was like a second chance for me to be able to, fix this and not have the pain anymore. And so I actually had the surgery in March of last year, and it was surprisingly really quick recovery. They did it on both legs, on my lower limb. And, I was on bed. They said to just rest for a few days. And so I just kind of like laid down, and I was crutching around for a little while. And then they cleared me to like walk around and do stuff. And then I got cleared to bike. And then within like a month and a half, I was back playing. So it really wasn't like that. Wasn't like a long recovery time. And then from there on, it's just been great because it fixed everything.
Okay. Now, SUNY Morrisville, the school that you're going to, what level are they? Are they NAIA, D3, D2, D1?
They're D3.
Okay. And D3 plays some good soccer. Now, obviously, you're going to a D3 school, you're probably pretty smart, because, you're going to have a lot of time to focus on your academics. Mm-hmm. Talk about why you decided to go D3. I know D3 schools don't offer soccer money, but talk a little bit about what made you choose that school as opposed to a D2 or D1 school that does.
So there's a lot of like, when it comes to like D1, D2, and D3, it's kind of like, for me, because I've talked to many coaches who have said like it doesn't matter, like it's just a title, because like there's plenty of like D1 teams that are just as like D3 teams that are just as good as D1 and vice versa. So I wasn't really focused on like, making sure to pick like a D2, a D3, or a D1 school. I just kind of wanted to find the school that I loved and be able to play soccer there. Because I knew that no matter what, it was still a big accomplishment to get into, being able to play a sport in college.
Absolutely.
And so I was just proud of that. And so I just kind of focused on that, and then that's how I picked my school.
All right. Well, that sounds like you found the right fit. Let's talk a little bit about in high school. Did you play club and high school, or just club, or?
I did club and varsity soccer. I did varsity since my freshman year, and I was in Lancaster, and then I did like an Orchard Park club. So I've always done both. Okay.
What were the differences between club and high school soccer?
So for me, high school soccer, it was like, for the club team, it was a lot of experienced players that have been playing like their whole life and, had a lot of skill set for them. And then for my school team, we have a smaller school. So we had less of a pool of like kids who have been playing prior to the year. So we had a lot of people coming in who had just played for like the first time or only did modified up to varsity. So for the high school team, it was different because a lot of them were inexperienced. So, we had different levels of skill on each, for everyone, because we had some who never played, some who just started, and people like me who had been playing their entire life. So it was just it was just kind of crazy having to adapt to that, because, I would be helping people. And then for my club team, we just kind of all have been playing. So it was a lot more competitive and stuff like that.
Okay. As far as club soccer, what level did you play at a club? Was it like, NPL or?
It was throughway league. So it wasn't like ECNL or anything, or like Premier. It wasn't, and it also wasn't travel. It was throughway. So like we still went out and like did camps and like 5 hours away and stuff like that, but it wasn't as, out there as Premier.
Okay. Do you think that, do you ever wish that you had played ECNL or one of the so-called higher leagues, or was your experience great where you were?
My experience was actually great at the throughway level. We still got the same amount of competition. We did play some, Premier teams in tournaments and stuff like that. We gave them a run for their money. So I think that like it doesn't really matter what like club you're playing for, because you'll still get, like, obviously like me, you still get the exposure that you need. So I was perfectly happy with where I was.
All right, that is great. Talk a little bit about you mentioned a lot of times that you were getting a little frustrated because the coaches don't come to you and you have to go to them. Talk a little bit about what you had to do to put yourself out there.
It was a lot of, so for like the Penn State camp, I would go up and in person talk and like talk to each of the coaches myself. And, I would just kind of put my name out there just so they knew who I was. And then I would email coaches, if I was going to do like showcase tournaments and they were going to be there, I'd be like, hi, I'll be playing. These are my game times, So it was just hard at first because I didn't know you had to put yourself out there like that. I was just kind of like expecting, people saw you, they would come up to you. And that's just, you kind of have to put yourself out there because, you're going to find a school that's right for you. So so that's kind of what I did. I just kind of talked to them, and then they, I would meet with them, and then what worked out did and what didn't work out,
Okay. You mentioned that you had gone to some ID camps, I believe your sophomore year. When you first started going to ID camps, were you intimidated by playing with and against older girls, at the beginning?
No, actually, it kind of like fueled my fire, and it made me want to play better because I wanted to be just as good as them, even though I was younger. So it just made me actually play, better because I had kind of like that competitive edge in me. So it was actually more of a thrill for me. I liked playing with different age groups and different skill levels because then I could see where I was at, and then I could also, get better while I was there working with people who were more talented.
Okay. What kind of role did your parents play in helping you with your soccer career?
They have been the most supportive people throughout my entire journey. And my stepdad's always been one to encourage me to, keep working, keep practicing, and to push through stuff. And no matter like what happened, they always had my back, and they were always there to, make sure that I was okay and make sure that, I was happy with what I was doing. And they always made sure to, keep an eye on me, especially with like the whole surgery thing. They were just always a positive influence, and they always pushed me to do better.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so, I'm super grateful.
Talk about when you would talk to coaches, were they equally as interested in your academics, your grades, as your soccer?
A lot of times we just kind of talked about like what I could improve on and what they were looking for in a player. There wasn't a lot of like academic talk because at the time it was more of like me asking, what can I do to get better to, be on this team, or like, what do you notice that you like versus stuff I need to work on. So a lot of my interactions with them, they just kind of like gave me tips, and then they would either, they would kind of end it off and you would know if they were interested or not. They could be like, you could give me an email and you could come up with for a visit, or vice versa. And that's kind of how you knew, but there wasn't a lot of academic talk. They would just kind of do it in a large group if you were at camps and just give you an idea of like what courses they offer, the academic standards that they expect from their players. And that's just it.
Okay. Do you already know what you're planning to major on in college? Yes,
nursing.
Oh, great. The world could use some nurses, and the nurses are really the heroes of all this that's going on now.
Yeah, my mom's a nurse, so she kind of inspired me for that.
Okay, well, tell her thank you for all of us.
I will.
And now you mentioned that playing where you played, you still had good competition. And the reason I'm going back to this is because a lot of people, especially parents, think that you have to be in the top leagues. You got to play ECNL or DA for boys in order to make college rosters and get exposed. But talk a little bit about how you were able to do that just playing, not in those leagues.
So you still not in those leagues, you're still doing showcases depending on the coaches that you have and what they decide to do. So you still go out there and get that exposure. Like we were going to do before Corona, we were supposed to do like a GPS showcase this past year. And then last year we did one in Albany where a bunch of my friends on my team actually met with coaches who approached them there. So you still get the same exposure. And you can still reach out because that's kind of what you have to do anyway. You still have to reach out to them and, put yourself out there. So you're still doing the same things. It's just different, leagues and different titles.
All right. Now, what positions do you play now? And has your coach talked to you about what they envision you playing in college?
So I kind of pretty much can go anywhere. I played defense for my first 2 years on varsity. Then I was midfield and forward. I usually am more of a attacker. And my coaches kind of talked about putting me as an attacking center mid because of my versatility and my different abilities that I have on the field when I'm playing. So I like, and for my club team, I play forward. I like being in the attacking zone. I like scoring goals. I just like being up there. So we've been talking, and he's mentioning more putting me attacking center mid or striker. So.
All right. Well, sounds like that versatility has served you well.
It has. It's taught me a lot.
And would you recommend to younger players that they try different positions and be open-minded to position changes?
Yeah, you get different, each part of the field, you get like a different view of what's going on. And so you can kind of learn different things that can help you in different positions. Like if you know how a defender thinks, you can kind of like work around that. And like same with midfielders, like you get different, ideas and different abilities with each position because, endurance and then like moves for strikers and shooting and defending. So it just kind of gives you like different viewpoints of the field. And it's actually really cool to see, how each different position is crucial in the game.
Okay. What would you say is your best characteristic as a soccer player that attracted college coaches to want you to play for them?
I would say when I was talking to Morrisville, they loved my like kind of just like my overall like determination on the field. Like I never gave up on any play. I always fought for the ball. I always would fight to get the ball back if I lost it. So that was kind of one of the things that they've always brought up is how I'm always, working really hard for my team.
All right. Well, Brianna, I know you got things to do, and I wish you well at SUNY Morrisville. And in the Soccer Parent Life group, we will follow your journey, and I hope everything works out for you. And I'm so glad that you're able to chase your soccer dreams.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, you have a good one, and tell your parents I said hello.
I will.
All right. Thank you.
Of course.
Bye-bye.
Bye.